Hi everyone and welcome. VMware Cloud on AWS brings VMware's enterprise-class software-defined data center to the AWS cloud and enables customers to run production applications across VMware vSphere-based private, public, and hybrid cloud environments with optimized access to AWS services. Delivered, sold, and supported by VMware and its partners as an on-demand service, VMware Cloud on AWS enables IT teams to manage their cloud-based resources with familiar VMware tools and without the hassle of learning new skills or utilizing new tools. VMware Cloud on AWS integrates VMware's flagship compute, storage, and network virtualization products, vSphere, vSAN, and NSX, along with VMware vCenter management and robust disaster protection. These products have been optimized to run on dedicated, elastic Amazon EC2 bare metal infrastructure that is fully integrated as part of the AWS cloud. That's right, it's not nested virtualization. With the same architecture and operational experience on-premises and in the cloud, IT teams can now quickly derive instant business value from the use of AWS and the VMware Cloud hybrid experience. Let's jump into a demo of our Cloud Console. Okay, when you initially log into the VMware Cloud Services Console, you're greeted with a number of different options. When you first log in, you'll see the My Services section. This is going to show you all of the services that you have access to and that your organization may have access to as well. So in this case, you can see I have access to VMware Cloud and AWS. I have access to VMware HCX and the Marketplace and Vrealize Network Insight Cloud, and I have other options for services that I could request access to. Again, this is just the initial kind of landing page area where you can start to get familiar with all of the different services and options that VMware Cloud Services offers. From here, we can look at a number of different things. We can look at identity and access management. We can look at billing and subscriptions, our support center, insights, a plethora of different things. If we drill into identity and access management, we can see here that we have a number of other options. We can look at our active users, we can look at pending invitations, groups, OAuth apps, etc. Most people look at active users and want to know, okay, who are my users? What access do they have? How can I add or remove users? How can I modify access to different roles for those users? And so what we're looking at here is we can see that we have two users as part of this organization, myself and Eric. And from here, we can go ahead and choose to modify an account if we wish. So we can click on Eric's name, click on Edit Roles, and here we can see a number of different things. So we can look at, what is his role with the organization? He's an owner. What does that mean? That allows Eric to be able to invite new people. So the only options here are owner and member. He can invite new people. If you're a member, you can't invite new people, but you still may have access to do some other things. We can also assign different service roles. So this is where we can assign those different services that we just looked at. I can provide access to HCX or the Marketplace. I can select the different sub roles within that if I want somebody to be an admin or an auditor or have just a user-based role. And from here we can also choose if we want somebody to be a billing read only, a support user so they can open up support requests, different things like that. So we don't want to modify Eric's access. We'll go ahead and hit cancel. And then from here, we will go up and check out this top tab where we have my name and my organization that I belong to. When I open this up, I can look at a couple of different things. First, we're going to look at my account. This is for me specifically. So I'm looking at my own account. I can see my email address and my name. If I had my VMware ID, I could link that here, and that would allow me to, access the support and serial numbers, different things like that. If we go to preferences, we can see that my preference for language is English. I'm in the United States, and then I can change my theme. Currently we're using the light theme, but you could also use the dark theme if you desire. For security, you could change your password. In my case, I belong to an identity service, so I have to change my password through a different method. But in this case, if you weren't as part of a federated service or using some sort of identity services, you could go ahead and change your password here. I can also see what my roles look like. So maybe I'm just a user. I don't have access to the other stuff. I can still see what kind of roles I have. I can see here that I'm an owner. I can see what services I have access to. I can drill in and see what privileges I have under a specific service. So for VMware Cloud and AWS, I can see that I'm an administrator, and I have NSX Cloud admin permissions as well. So it allows me to, go in and create network segments and firewall rules and all that good stuff. I can also look at API tokens. So I currently don't have any, but if I wanted to leverage an API token for some automation, this would be the way to do it. And all I'd have to do is click generate a new token. Here I can provide a token name, so we'll just call it test token, give it a 6-month time to live. You can extend that, of course, and then you can see here you can create different tokens for different things. So depending on what kind of automation you're doing, what kind of access maybe that script or that piece of automation needs, you can go ahead and really granularly define what it's doing. So here we'll just kind of leave the defaults. I'm going to go ahead and choose VMware Cloud on AWS. And I will hit generate. And what this will do is this will provide me with a token. Now this token, I can copy it and then use this, in my script. I can download it, I can print it. Here we're just going to copy it to the clipboard. You can see here that it's for this particular organization, when it expires. So you want to keep tabs on that. Then of course, we can generate new tokens for different things. We can have multiple tokens. We can regenerate a token if it expires. And of course we can revoke a token. I don't need this for anything at the moment, so we're going to go ahead and revoke this. We definitely don't want them laying around not being used. So now that's all good. So you can see we have like I said, a number of different things you can do within the console here, not just specifically related to VMware Cloud and AWS, but to all cloud services and the accounts and organizations that you may belong to. So if we go back to services, and here we will drill into VMware Cloud and AWS because that's what you're all here to see. So once we click on VMware Cloud and AWS, this loads up our Launchpad, and this is kind of the default place that you can get to. Now, if you don't have access to a VMC environment, you can still get to the Launchpad. We actually provide the Launchpad to everybody, even non-users, so you can kind of get a feel for how to do certain things, see what those solutions are, see what that infrastructure is, and kind of just get familiar with it. So if you go to vmc.vmware.com, you can certainly get access to this Launchpad without actually having access to your VMware Cloud and AWS infrastructure. And here, if we click on VMC, we can kind of see here it's going to give us a little bit of information about, the locations around the world and how to manage it, your SDDC stack and the AWS networking and storage services. And sure, I'd like to learn more. So this is going to give us just, an overview video, kind of a quick start video. It gives us a technical overview of all of the different things. So this will go over what is outlined for compute and the clusters, and what is outlined for storage and networking, all of that information at a high level, right? This is going to be, 100 level, just kind of giving you that basic information just to kind of get you familiar with what that service looks like. And then, of course, we can come up here to Journey, and we can see here, this is where we kind of start preparing you, getting you started with your journey into VMware Cloud and AWS. And so here we're going to talk about the first stage for preparing your environment. And this is a number of just quick start videos, bite-sized chunks where you can watch these videos, get familiar with setting up all the ins and outs, deploying your environment, and then configuring your environment as well. And this to kind of, again, take you through start to finish. How do I set it up? How do I create VPNs and VPCs? And how do I deploy them and scale my cluster? And then how do I connect back? How do I do some more advanced networking? How do I handle all of that stuff that's going to get me that true hybrid cloud environment? So a great way to kind of just step through, be able to watch some demos on how we do some things, and then, go into your own environment and take care of it on your own. Of course, you can always refer back to them as needed. Some of the other things we look at here in the VMware Cloud and AWS console is subscriptions. So we can actually look through here and say, hey, I want to create a subscription. I want that discount for buying 1 year or 3 years up front, prepaying for that. And this is where you can create those subscriptions and manage all of that together. We can look at our activity log. The activity log is key, where we can see everything that's going on in the environment. We're very transparent with our customers about this. We can see here that we have added a member to our SDDC group. We've deployed SDDCs and removed them, and this is our lab. So this is all the stuff that Eric and I are doing, and as by the looks of it, Eric's been very, very busy. So, you can see here everything that he's done, when he's done it, and what those SDDCs are named. And then, of course, we could always go into Vrealize Log Insight Cloud and get more information and some other things that are going on there. Next, we can look at tools, and this is giving you some things that you can download. So our content onboarding assistant allows you to just download a utility that will let you take virtual machine templates and ISOs and images and all kinds of good stuff and get it up in your cloud after you have it deployed. That way, you're kind of just pushing content in there so you can build new virtual machines with your templates and images that you already have on premises. We can get our DCLI bundle. So this is our data center command line interface, and this gives you a little bit more accessibilities to some of the vSphere automation, the REST API for vSphere. And then, of course, we have our vCenter Cloud Gateway appliance, and this is the appliance that you deploy on premises, allows you to configure hybrid linked mode so that you can have that single pane of glass to manage both your on-premises and your cloud vSphere environments together. Operationally, it makes sense. It allows you to do some migrations through the UI, through the vSphere client. It just makes things a lot more seamless and easy to do. So you certainly can download it from here. If we move on, we can go into the Developer Center, and this is pretty cool. So, here we can browse all of our APIs for VMC and kind of start exploring everything. And even if you're, well-versed in automation or very new to automation, this is the place to be. If we look at our API Explorer, you can see that we have available APIs for VMware Cloud Services Platform, for VMware Cloud and VMware Cloud and AWS. And if we drill into VMware Cloud and AWS, we can just say, hey, I want to look at some of the general API categories. You can see under environment, we have our organization that we're a member of, and we can choose our SDDC. So if we choose prod 01, and we can see all of the things that we may be able to do here. So let's scroll down, let's go into SDDCs, and you can see here you can do all kinds of stuff, posts, gets, deletes, all sorts of information that can be gathered and tasks that can be automated, and this kind of helps you get through that. So let's look at a get. Let's get our SDDC information. You can see here the response types that you may get, and you have this cool try it out feature. So you can see here, because I've already selected those org and the SDDC in the drop down on the left, the org ID and the SDDC ID are already populated. This makes it very easy for us to consume. We just click execute. And now we have our response, and this response gives us all the information that we're looking for. We can start to drill in all of these different things and get some useful information, and this kind of helps us, move along in that process. So very cool stuff. Definitely recommend check it out. Code samples, another great piece in the Developer Center here, where you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Some of the stuff is already built for you. You can go ahead and write PowerCLI scripts and get that information right out of here, whether it's PowerShell, whether it's Python. I'm sure there's some Java in here, some other things, and this is just content and code that you can grab and use for yourself for whatever you're trying to automate in your business. We can look at the SDKs, vSphere Automation, SDK for Java and for Python. The getting started and sources are here. And then, of course, we have downloads, right? You can get the DCLI bundle and PowerCLI. Of course, PowerCLI, as long as you've got PowerShell installed, you can just copy and paste this command and get the commandlets for you. So you're off to the races there. So let's go back to our SDDC and let's take a look at what this actually looks like, right? So we have two SDDCs deployed, and don't mind that they expire in 5 days. We're running some single node instances, which are only good for 30 days, and then they sort of self-destruct. And this is great for labs and demo purposes. And so you can see here we're running in US West Oregon. We have US West 2B, one cluster, one host per cluster, and you can see the resources that we're utilizing here. If we look at our SDDC groups, this is a new thing that we're doing. It's pretty cool. We created a group, called it Group 1. And we go into the details here, and we can see that we have both of our SDDCs in here. So one thing to note is that an SDDC, think of it as a logical container. Each SDDC is going to have a vCenter, NSX manager, all of that stuff. So if you had one SDDC, you could have multiple clusters underneath that. If you had two SDDCs, you're going to have two different vCenters with clusters up underneath each vCenter. So in here, we're showing you that we have two production SDDCs. You can see the SDDC IDs, where they're located, the versions of the management CIDRs, all of that good stuff. They're connected. That's fantastic. So if we go a little forward and go look at Vcenter Linking, now we can see that these are linked. What this means is that now we're doing linked mode, or our version of linked mode in the cloud for these. So this gives you that single pane of glass. So this is using SDDC groups and transit gateways. You can see everything that we have going on here. If we look at the routing, you can see that the routing is established between the SDDCs and the direct connect gateways. And then if you're having difficulty or need some support, we have the group ID and when it was created and the transit gateway ID, and that helps support, kind of troubleshoot that with you. So a lot of good stuff there. Great to know that you can have a single pane of glass in your cloud environments. So let's back up. Let's go back to our SDDC table here, and let's look at the details of Prod 01. So we have some more stuff going on here. Certainly we can scale this up. It's one host and it expires in 30 days, or in this case 5 days. So if we wanted to keep this, say we were just dipping our toe in the water, we wanted to test this out, wanted to keep it, we can go ahead and click scale up. That's going to scale us up to a production 3-node cluster, and then you don't lose any of your configurations, any of your data, any of your virtual machines you've put out there. You're in a full-fledged production environment and you're good to go. But let's say we're not. Let's just look through everything that we have here while we're driving through this demo. So network and security. This is the sort of the UI that's going to give you all of the things that you need that you would normally configure in NSX Manager. First and foremost, it's going to give you an overview of your entire kind of network topology, right? So we have our SDDC groups that we just talked about. These are connected through our management gateways. From here, we can have access directly to the internet, so we see that's connected. And then we have our workloads, or underneath our compute gateway, that's connected out to our Amazon VPC. In the middle here, we don't have any VPNs or direct connects configured, but if it was a production environment, you'd certainly see one or both there. In addition to that, we can see that our management gateway, has NSX, Vcenter, and ESXi rolling up underneath of it. We have our appliance subnet and infrastructure subnets. We can see our gateway and firewall rules, our different groups. Same thing for compute. And these are kind of shortcuts. These are links you can click on that will take you to these various things. So if you wanted to create a gateway firewall rule under the management T0 router, you could certainly click that. It would take you over there. Let's drive down a little bit further. So under network, we have network segments. This is where you're going to create your network groups or your virtual port groups. So if you think about it, normally in the vSphere client, whether you're using standard switches or distributed switches, that's where you'd create your network switches, your logical switches, your port groups. If you're running NSXT, you're going to do that through NSX Manager. And here we're allowing you to do it here. So you're not going to do it through the vSphere client or through the NSX client. You're going to do it through the cloud console. So this is where you build out all of your networks that your virtual machines would be using. Under VPNs, we would create a VPN for network connectivity. So while you can access all of this from the internet, it's easier and more secure to set up a VPN or a direct connect. In this case, we're talking VPN, so you could create a route-based or a policy-based VPN, or even do an L2 VPN to have that traffic going back and forth. So this is where you would handle that at. We can certainly do NATs. We can look at our tier 1 gateway, and we can look at our transit connect. And this kind of goes back to the whole SDDC grouping stuff that we looked at just a little bit ago. This is kind of showing you what routes are being learned from that transit connect. So great way to kind of look at all of that information. Next, if we go through security and look at our gateway firewall, we have both firewalls wrapped up in here. Our compute gateway is what is going to allow or deny access to our compute virtual machines. So all of your virtual machines, all of your applications that you're putting in the environment, this is where you're going to build those firewall rules at. Specifically getting access to the management stack is where we would define our management gateway. And this is where you can see we have, our ESXi outbound and Vcenter outbound and inbound for Vcenter. This is where we're building all those rules so we can designate certain subnets that would have access to the Vcenter server from on-premises. And then we can look at our distributed firewall as well. And again, this is where you're bringing in that NSX functionality to the cloud and using, this for better security for your virtual machines once they're in the cloud. If we look at groups, this is a fantastic way to kind of define how we're handling things. So whether it's a management group or a compute group, you can create different groups and then apply those to firewall rules. And now you only have to manage the members of the group. You don't have to continually go in and manage the members within the firewall rule itself. So in this case, we may have a compute under compute groups, we may have an admin group. And so in this case, it's myself and Eric are part of the admin group. Those are our IP addresses from our machines, and we're the only ones that can access whatever firewall rules are utilizing the admin group. So a great way to kind of take care of that. We also have other tools like IPFix and port mirroring, and we have DNS and DHCP and all of that good stuff. And we can configure our direct connects here and look at our connected VPC. And this is where we can see how we're connected back to AWS. From there, we can look at the Add-ons tab, and this is where we get to kind of extend the functionality of VMware Cloud and AWS. So HCX is already provided to you, included with VMC, and this is going to allow you to migrate virtual machines from on-premises to the cloud, but you can already do that out of the box. This just gives you that extra power, that ability to do replication, assisted vMotion, or bulk migration, all of these different things, extend layer 2 networks, all kinds of good stuff. So it's active out of the box. We can activate and pay for site recovery, and this is going to give you that disaster recovery protection, whether it's cloud to cloud, maybe you're deploying a SDDC in the West Coast and in the East Coast, or maybe somewhere in North America and somewhere in Europe. And this will allow you to protect those virtual machines. You can also do it from on-premises, so you can activate this and protect from on-premises to the cloud. And then we also have Vrealize Automation Cloud, and this is, again, bringing that self-service infrastructure and allowing you to kind of manage all of that. The cool thing about all of these add-ons is that we handle them for you. VMware handles them for you. So this is going to be us managing the appliances, the patching, the upgrades, the any trouble that you might run into. We're handling the cloud side of it, and we're just letting you do the configurations and taking advantage of those services. So all with a click of a button, you can be off and running with any of these services. Under maintenance, this is where we're looking at any upcoming maintenance. Do we have an SDDC upgrade schedule? Do we have patches scheduled? Do we have life cycle going on? Whatever's happening, you'll be able to see it here. Under troubleshooting, this is a cool use case, or a cool little connectivity use case here, where we can look at hybrid linked mode. And again, we talked about deploying that appliance on premises to give you that single pane of glass. This is going to allow you to test things to see if it's not working properly. So let's say you deploy the gateway, you configure hybrid linked mode, but something's not working. You're not seeing both inventories, both vCenters in your inventory, something's off. Here you can go ahead and start populating all of this information, your DNS servers and vCenter and PSCs and Active Directory and all that good stuff. And when you run all the tests, it's going to do a trace route, it's going to do a ping, it's going to check to see if certain ports are open, it's going to do reverse lookups, it's going to check all of that stuff, and then it's going to tell you what fails. When something fails, you know what it is. Oh, I forgot to open this port on our firewall, or oh, I forgot to create a reverse DNS record for this. So it helps you kind of self-troubleshoot before you have to call support. And then if you are using site recovery, you'll be able to test ports and all kinds of stuff the same way you're doing hybrid link mode from here. Next, we have settings. This is kind of a cool little area where you can just get quick information, right? We know what kind of deployment we're running for NSX. We know what our default cloud admin password or account is. What is our vSphere client, our API URL, PowerCLI Connect. Hey, how do I connect with a PowerShell script? Well, this is easy. You just copy and paste this line and boom, you're off to the races. And then obviously your FQDN IP addresses for public and private, depending on what your configuration is and how you would access that. Really easy. If you drill into one of them, you can see what's here. You can click on the little clipboard, boom, it's copied. You can right click, open a new tab, whatever you want to do, and paste that URL, and you're good. Last tab here is support, and this is very useful if you ever have to open up a support ticket. You want this org ID and this SDDC ID. And then sometimes the SDDC version, although it's not really a requirement, but these two are. And these are what help support really track down, what organization you're in, what's the SDDC having the problem, and then, they can help you out from there. It also gives you a little bit of other information like your vCenter IPs and NSX Manager IP, all good stuff to have. So with that, let's go ahead and open up vCenter. Again, you can see that we are just, in a browser, we're on vmc.vmware.com, but I already have everything configured. So if I click open vCenter, it's going to ask you to configure some stuff that you may not have already done. Configure your firewall rules to get access to it, and configure a VPN, for security purposes. Now, I've already done everything we need to do behind the scenes, so I'm going to say show credentials, and our default is cloudadmin@vmc.local, and then we have a default password. Highly recommend you change the password because anybody who has access to VMC in your organization can copy this. Once you change the password, this doesn't change, but the password does, so they wouldn't be able to access this anymore. So once we copy that, we can click Open vCenter. Going to open up a new tab. With the vSphere client, we log in with cloudadmin@vmc.local. Because we don't have Active Directory or anything else set up that would help out with identity services. Again, it's a lab. We paste the password, we log in, and wouldn't you know it, but it's our good old vSphere client and everything that you should be used to seeing, hosts and clusters, VMs and templates, storage and networking, and create your policies and profiles, all that good stuff. Click on menu. Let's go to hosts and clusters just to see what we're looking at here. So you can see we have two vCenters listed here, and that's because we're running that new SDDC Groups and the Vcenter Linking. If we drill into management resource pools, we can see our management stacks, our NSX managers and edges, our vCenter servers. You can see our compute resource pool has management 01. That's just a VM that we built. We have access to everything in the compute resource pool, full access, whether it's modifying the resources, adding, deleting VMs, what have you. Anything in the management resource pools, you could click on them, you could see the specs, but you can't manipulate them, you can't reboot them. That's what we have our great support staff for. Speaking of support, we have this little smiley face icon down here. If we click on this, we can see a bunch of things, right? We can chat with support, we can view the privacy notice, we can see that all systems are operational, and there's a green check mark there. We can even click that and drill in to see the history of any potential outages or service upgrades, anything to that nature. We could also talk with customer success during their office hours and view their webinars and all that good stuff. The great thing about this is we can chat with support right away, and as it says here, our usual reply time is in a few minutes, and that is very, very accurate. You could talk with any of these folks here, and as soon as you type in a message, within a couple of minutes, you'll get a live person responding back to you, starting to ask you questions and try to help you out as best they can. They can do a screen sharing, they can do a Zoom, they can escalate as necessary. So very, very great experience. And that is it. That is our Cloud Console and vSphere Client tour. To learn more, we have a ton of technical content out there. Check out our website, blog, podcast, YouTube, and TechZone. There is no shortage of information in the medium that you would prefer it in. Also check out our hands-on labs. We have our top 3, our Lightning Lab fundamentals use cases, and we have some others like automation. You can go to the TechZone website to get access to all of those hands-on labs completely free, and allows you to just get completely hands-on and test everything out without actually having to go in and purchase the service. Check us out on social media at VMware Cloud AWS and use our hashtag VMW on AWS. And if you need more information, we have our solutions brief, our total cost of ownership, and you can even request a total cost of ownership with our phenomenal team. Thank you very much.